Hey guys, it's Rafael from Black Lotus Audio, and today I'm here in Day of Colors. I believe that's the name of the festival, right?
Yes.
Days of Colors here in Puerto Rico. And I have here our guest stars for here in Puerto Rico after 8 years of them blast playing here. Virtual Riot, hello, how are you?
Good, how are you?
I'm doing great. This interview was supposed to be before the set, but some mix-ups, and we're doing it after the set. So, how was the crowd here in Puerto Rico? How do you felt the vibe and the ambience?
It was really sick. I had a feeling about what it was going to be like with the colors. Like I looked it up earlier, and it was sick. So much has like changed since 8 years ago when I first was here. I've started to like tour with VJ Neurite, doing visuals on stage. And it's just been like crazy fun, and it's such a different energy. And there were so many people here going mental.
Oh yeah, and I really love how you two are synchronized, like the visuals and the audio and the mixing. Like everything is so in sync. Like you two are connected, like in the brain digitally, sort of like your album art where you're all connected.
Oh, nice.
And that's a really awesome dynamic. So how does it feel to that dynamic of visuals and audio with you two?
I feel a lot more happy with like the end result because I always want the visuals to really match the audio, and I feel a lot less nervous because I'm not alone on stage.
Oh, that sounds great. And talking about stage, when you're doing sets and doing shows, for example, I know that you've played on super huge venues with like gigantic crowds, and you've also played smaller venues. How do you adjust, and what do you do when you're in different stages? Like, do you use just the same style of mixing, or do you like to adjust depending on the place that you're playing?
This goes into psychology a little bit, and I feel like the bigger the crowd, the more you can sort of channel a mass hysteria type feeling with very long build-ups and very dramatic like layouts of the set, and you might not be playing a lot of songs in a row. Like I feel like if it's a smaller room, like 300 people underground, like a little sweaty room, you can just play one song after the other and do double and triple drops. I feel like that is the energy that works for these smaller underground rooms.
And you feel like this was the energy here in Puerto Rico, right? It was a smaller crowd. It was
it was like medium, and it's like right in between, where there are like some surprise drops here and there, and then we have some very dramatic long build-ups and storytelling. And I also like that the set is like it's 75 minutes long, so you have a little more time to develop certain things or go into one genre then go into the other or something like that.
Awesome.
From like a production perspective, you when smaller shows you don't have as many things, right? So like sometimes you don't have like fire and lasers and lighting, and so in smaller shows the visuals you have to do a lot more to like make up some of that space and create those moments of like exactly what he's talking about, where like you have moments where you can build anticipation. So you're responsible for building that anticipation rather than like working cohesively with a team to have the lighting or lasers build that anticipation. So
yeah, and in this case we didn't have lasers or the fire, but instead we have these bright, colorful paint. So how do you feel that added an extra value to your show? Like, do you felt like that added more energy to the crowd?
At some point I heard people just consistently screaming, and then I saw like what was going on because people were just getting sprayed, and that was awesome. I love that.
Have you ever been in a show before where you're spray painting like the crowd, or was the first?
I've been to one Holy Colors in Germany that's 10, 12 years ago. And in South Korea, they had a show where it was so hot they had water guns, and everyone could bring water guns. And then the stage had a little walkway into the crowd, and if you walked out there, then everyone was shooting you with their water guns. But there was a big turret you could shoot back at the crowd. It was really fun.
That sounds amazing.
It's not colors. It's not as dramatic as that.
Oh yeah, definitely.
This is way crazier.
Yeah, and talking about the different countries that you played, how does the Latin American EDM scene feel compared to other countries? For example, the US. I know that the US EDM scene is far more different than the Latin American scene. And what have you noticed in these countries?
I feel the Latin American EDM scene is more into the playful, fun kind of dubstep, electro, complextro, bass house, whereas in America I feel like it's leaning more towards the dark, evil, like Satan fucking
like the rhythm, the
heavier the better stuff. Kind of
like really heavier, like tear out, and it's all like it feels a little less playful and fun and more serious and which is also, I like that. I can rage all day. That's cool too. It's just some like a slight difference I've noticed where like it's a more playful feeling here and more fun. I like it.
I also feel like the fans appreciate the music here more, like a little bit, like because they're not getting oversaturated with all of these festivals, right? So it's like when they get a show or they get an artist to come there, they're like, we're here, like we've shown up, we're ready to rage, because they just appreciate that like opportunity to see them.
I think a fun fact here is that we basically get 2 or 3 EDM shows a year. So basically here in Puerto Rico, you mostly hear trap and Latin trap and that style of music. So one of the things that I was curious about was the EDM scene, because it's not a common thing to be seen when you're driving down the street. Like you don't listen or you don't hear people driving around blasting EDM. But seeing these festivals filled with all of these people, it's a bit surprising as a Puerto Rican resident here, because it's not something that's commonly seen.
Yeah. But then again, those people finally have somewhere to go to like see that live and listen to that in a crowd.
And we can see that, like having just people jumping and being like super excited. I saw so many people with Virtual Riot merch, like chains, the t-shirts and everything, and they were just going completely wild with your music.
Yeah, I love that.
So talking about your music, 8 years ago when you played here in Puerto Rico, I believe that you recently released the Throwback EP.
Yeah.
How different has your creative process been after that EP? Because I believe that you were starting out using Ableton. You were still in Cubase by those years, and then you started shifting towards Ableton.
Yeah.
How do you feel you've grown since then?
I've never really looked back at that way. I still really like that side of melodic and complex story stuff. Then I feel like after a while with the German Engineering EP and Save Yourself, like it kind of drifted a little bit into this harder, more hardcore, more intense dubstep EDM like rhythm scene. And then I was like, but I like the melodic stuff way more. So now with like the last 2 albums, I've been trying to like shift back into this like diversity of doing many genres and just like all types of EDM. And it's been a journey over the past 8 years, I'd say.
Awesome. I'm guessing that you've enjoyed all of the steps in the journey, because you've been experimenting and you've played around with different genres. You've touched the dark areas of the dubstep and the bright, colorful, complextro, glitch hop.
The dark side. Love it.
And I'm guessing that you enjoy both processes. Like it's a completely different world for each. So I'm guessing that it allows you to have more creative freedom, and it might even prevent writer's block, right? Because if one day you want to make a glitch hop track, but you're not inspired, and you can go into like the more darker sound design stuff.
And I think that's a very important part actually for a lot of upcoming producers, or like a piece of advice I would give, where don't feel like you have to make a certain style. If you sit down and you don't feel like making like a banger, but you feel like you have to make a banger now to get bookings and get out there, just make what you actually feel like. Like I've noticed the best results come if I sit down and I have some sort of emotion that I'm putting into the music. Let's say I'm feeling happy and I want to share that, might make a happy song. If I'm feeling angry, maybe I'll make an angry song to like as catharsis to let that out. Or if I'm sad, maybe I make a song to make myself not feel sad anymore. Maybe something uplifting that might do the same for others, or something really sad to share my emotion with other people. No matter what, if that comes from this authentic point of your own internal emotional world, that authenticity is usually way more important than having the best serum presets.
Awesome. And talking about serum presets, a lot of people that might be seeing this video are young producers that are inspired, that enjoy your music, watch your live streams, watch your YouTube videos and tutorials, and maybe they're still a beginner, they're not experts in sound design. And I want you to tell me, since you've done a lot of serum presets for Splice, you have the heavy bass design packs and all that. How do you feel about people using your sounds or presets in general?
I'm always happy when I hear them somewhere. If the whole rest of the song is sick, I'm like happy if I'm at a show, someone plays a track and I hear, oh, that's my drum fill from Sample Pack or something. I'm just happy about it.
So you're against, like, for example, because the dubstep scene has always been like you need to produce every single detail of a track. So what do you think about the purists or the dubstep purists that believe that you have to synthesize a kick, a snare, and everything for your track to be good? In quotes.
I don't think that is necessary. For a time, I wanted that for my own music. I wanted to be able to make everything myself. And I think I learned a lot doing that, but it was also limiting me creatively, because sometimes it's just good to just pick a kick, pick a snare, and keep writing instead of getting stuck on the sound design of this one piece. You rather want to just maybe lay out the whole track, and if there's a percussion loop on splice that fits to the kick and the snare that you've made and you drag it in and it works, then it's fine. It's more about like you're a producer as much as a curator, in a way, where picking the right sounds and how they work together and how they interact and how you arrange them is just as much a part of your signature sound as the sound design of the basses themselves. But on the topic of like tutorials and those kinds of stuff, I've like started a Patreon. Carmen's also started a Patreon for VJs, for people that want to learn VJing in Resolume. And she's been doing some tutorials. And content creation. Which is something that when I started with the YouTube stuff for music production, there weren't a lot of YouTube videos or tutorials on YouTube. And I feel like it's the same for VJs now. Yeah. So she's like breaking the mold in this regard, which I think is super awesome.
Yeah. And talking about VJs, how have you grown, Carmen, in your style of visuals? Like, how do you feel you've evolved, and what do you want to do next in your visual style?
Yeah, I've been a VJ for like 8 years now, and I think starting out, I really didn't see things. I just kind of thought like about the visual aspect of a show, and as we've kind of grown together, and now we have this awesome show we've put together, we have brought in like lasers and lighting, and so the show has become a lot more about like how do you work in this entire team to like amplify and showcase each one of these awesome, you know, like the lasers, the lighting,
like
each
the fire
moment.
and
so
all
like
that.
We sit down as a team and we talk about each moment of the set and how we want to make people feel in that moment, and I think like that is so much cooler to me than just, okay, I'm just gonna make really cool visuals.
Yeah, so it's like what we talked earlier about the psychology of the set. Like, it's a mental breakdown of what the audience might want.
And for me, like, I have become a lot more detail oriented in my visuals. I used to just be like, I'm gonna make this thing that's cool looking, and now it's about like taking like a song he's made and finding all the quirky little sounds, like, oh, it goes up here in this point, so like that's how the visual should react to it so that it matches that sound. And I think like I also have a synesthesia, so it all kind of cohesively works together in that way, that like I hear those sounds and see those colors, so as a result it's like more integrated in my visuals nowadays than it used to be in.
Yeah, so it's like a process that people might not notice with like the pre-production. Like, it's a super huge like breakdown. And do you also, when you're, for example, if Val is making a new track, for example, while the track is being made, or like in the early stages of the track, is the visual also taking in mind, like while the track is being constructed, or is the visual
definitely
made after
I think like
the track?
even just subconsciously you'll hear something I'm working on and think of, maybe that'll work for that later.
Yeah, definitely. Like, the good example is he just released the song Damage with DJ Diesel. And when that was being made, or like kind of shortly after in that period, it was like I was like, oh, I have this idea, I want to do this thing with like text motion, and then that turned into this crazy idea where I wanted all the visuals to match and have a theme for each one of the verses of that song. And the drop coming a lot later once we actually played with the visual live, and I was like, oh, this would fit really well in this moment. And so it's definitely like, it's addicting, because I'll just go down like a rabbit hole with the visual, and then all of a sudden 100 hours have gone by and I'm working on all of these little things, all these little details, and I'm pretty sure the only person that notices is Val.
I'm sure the audiences notices as well, because I noticed people just watching the visuals mesmerized, like just impressed with the quality of the visuals. Like, I saw people just zoning out in the visuals, like, whoa, this is like next level. Because again, it's not a common thing seen here in Puerto Rico, and the trap scene is visuals is a lot different from the EDM scene, and I think the EDM scene is a step ahead in terms of visual compared to the shows that I've been. Personally, I know that a lot of DJs like to put extra care in their visuals, whereas the trap scene is more about the stage, the stage construction and all that, which are two completely different vibes.
Yeah,
because
you
I feel like
can-
with trap you also have like lots of people coming out doing verses, singing or rapping or something.
Yeah, and dancing, you have the
And then-
dancer.
and it makes Excision set is like a
genres
fucking
change the way that you
movie.
play those visuals too, you know?
Yeah.
But I think there's a huge difference between going to a show where someone had a visual pack made and you have a VJ punting the set, and it's not that that can't look cool, but there's a big difference between like this set has been curated and designed to go exactly with each of the songs, and
Yeah,
I
it's
think
like that
Yeah.
small little detail that really stands out.
Yeah,
It really like
definitely.
shows the quality of big time producers
Mm-hmm.
with compared to small producers. And I'm not shaming small producers. You gotta
Mm-hmm.
start somewhere,
Yeah.
and that's encouraging you guys. Like if you're a small producer, and if you got the
start
small
working on
visuals,
it.
like just
yeah.
perfect your craft. Practice makes perfect. That's like
And let that
the
grow
deal
over
thing.
time. He was a small producer when we started working together, and it's like over 8 years we've changed the visuals so much, and it's such a different show than it used to be.
Oh, yeah.
So, but it's like that growth needed to happen, right? And it's like growing together is pretty cool experience. But yeah, I think it's exciting stuff.
Great. So switching a little bit the questions, I want to talk a little bit about Puerto Rico. So I know that you guys haven't spent much time here in Puerto
Yeah, we
Rico,
only came
right?
in yesterday.
But if you guys had a 1 week vacation here in Puerto Rico, what would you like to see, do, or like, or would you rather like connect with the culture, go to the beaches and rivers, or like what's something that's curious about Puerto Rico that you'd like to see?
The whole like Old Town area looked really cool,
Yeah.
but I don't think I've ever been there.
Yeah.
I would just want to like go around the entire island, see everything.
Yeah.
So I've
It's-
never spent a lot of time here.
Also, Val, it's like when we're traveling, a lot of times it's really easy to get into this routine of like go to the hotel, play the show, get on the flight, go to the next city. And I try my best to like pull him out and be like, let's go to the beach in our like 20-minute.
Seems like you
Period.
need a island vacation then, because
Yeah.
there's so many things to do
Yeah.
here in the island. There's the beaches, beautiful beaches.
We
river-
did
go
go
to
to
the
the
beach
beach
today.
for like 20 minutes.
And
Oh,
we've, been,
that's
when we've
great.
been trying to like go to different restaurants to like
Yeah.
get like Puerto Rican kitchen.
Yeah, and the
like, eat all
cuisine
stuff.
is amazing, fantastic, because there's so much variety for
Plantains everywhere.
Yeah,
like
and I think it's the richness of cultures, because Puerto
Yeah.
Rico is a mixed culture. So you have Spanish culture
Yeah,
with the
and
natives
American
and the
culture, too.
Afro-American. Like
Yeah.
it's a super dense
yeah.
place that if you guys want to ever visit or you just want to relax, it's a perfect place, and you're gonna feel right at home because since it's a U.S. territory, a lot of people speak English.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's really comfortable to be here for
Yeah,
artists and
definitely.
people
Yeah.
in general.
Book us again, we'll stay longer.
I found like it crazy to go into like the store and be like, oh, these are all the snacks I have at home. I was going in to like find unique snacks, and I was like, oh, Doritos, like, because you just don't like usually get that in like Latin America. So it's cool. I like the mix of culture between the two. It's nice.
And is it shocking seeing, like, because I'm guessing that you're used to seeing Latin America very different. How shocking is it to come to Puerto Rico, that's a Latin American country, feel a lot closer to the U.S. with people speaking Spanish, but like the U.S. sort of structure?
I speak Spanish fluently, so for me, I was actually a little like I'm a little sad actually that people go right to English, because in like Latin America it's like more like, oh yeah, like I don't even speak English, so you have to figure it out. But
You want to practice
and
your
I'm like, I
Spanish.
like
Yeah.
using my Spanish, but yeah, it's been cool though to have that kind of blend, or like see that blend in general, like of the two. And I think if we had more time, I definitely would love to go around and meet people. And I think like not having the opportunity to like go around with a local and see all of the stuff is always sad to me when we're on tour. It's like it would be cool to be like, bring me to your favorite spot, right? Or like bring me to your house and make a dinner. I think
Yeah.
that would be so
We
fun.
definitely would need a tour guide
Yeah.
show us around.
That would be awesome.
Yeah.
And if I could get you guys maybe for a podcast in the future,
Yeah.
like just a podcast to talk and then have it as an excuse for vacation. I think
Yeah.
that would be the
Yeah.
ideal
Nice.
scenario,
I like that.
because
That's
I know that touring is very exhausting.
Yeah.
So how do you deal with that exhaustion? Like how do you get time to sort of refresh your mind?
I honestly don't even notice until
Yeah.
we bring someone on tour with us, like a friend, and at the end of the tour, they're like, I'm so dead, how do you guys do this? And we're just like, oh, maybe what we do is pretty exhausting.
Usually, like if done well, it's in like chunks where like
Yeah.
there's a month or two of a lot of shows, and then there's maybe a month off after that or something. For example, over December and January, I was in Germany visiting my family for Christmas, so I didn't have any shows for almost 2 months, and then came back, and then I had a Los Angeles last weekend, and then this is the second show this year. So
Oh, so you haven't done much shows yet, but you do have a tour
then-
coming
Yeah,
up,
show
right?
next
So there's a
week,
lot
next
of
week
shows.
is Rampage,
Europe.
and then we got March a couple, and yeah, so now it's starting again. But there's like breaks where there's like 3 weeks of break, and then I can write music, and we can think about new visuals for new songs and
work
stuff.
Yeah.
on stuff, like tweak the show, and like we got a lot done in the time off. This time period, like our LA show looked completely different from the last show that we did in December, and like people noticed. You know, we played that show and it was all over the internet. Like that was a next level thing, and so it's important to have those like creative breaks and also like spend time as a team together too.
Oh, definitely. And talking about the touring and all that, do you still produce music while you're, for example, at the hotel while you're waiting
Yeah.
for your show?
Yeah,
Like,
no, definitely.
how does it feel to make music in a hotel compared to your house or your studio? Like, do you feel your music is different when made in a hotel during the tour compared to the studio session?
Definitely, because since you usually, like, if I work on headphones on on an airplane or on the laptop speakers in a hotel, I don't worry about the mix down so much. So it's more about getting a good idea down, and then at home you want to like, okay, dial in the mix and stuff. So it's actually a little easier because you don't need to worry about that part. It's more just about sketching out a cool idea. It can actually be quite freeing. I can recommend, in general, also I can recommend if you have a studio at home, also take your laptop and go to different places, even just in your house. Sit down on the couch, produce there. Sit outside on the porch, produce there. It'll have a different effect on you. It's fascinating.
Yeah. With visuals, it's a similar thing too. It's like doing it in the hotel room or like after a show. It's just if you feel creative, make something, because that's going to be when you make your best stuff, you know? And so it's like, yeah, absolutely, like different places, in the plane, on the 20 minutes before you go on, it's like that's a time period when you just feel really creatively active. And sometimes when you're at home, you're like, I just want to rest and don't want to make content. So I think it's just like wherever you feel the vibes to make it.
Also,
Oh,
it could
yeah.
be cool to make something in the hotel room and then try it out real quick
Yeah.
at the show afterwards. And especially if there's like multiple shows during a weekend, you can like tweak it a bit and then see the different crowd reactions and just try out some stuff and see how people react to it. That's sometimes really cool to just have the immediate feedback of something you just worked on and like test it out.
Yeah,
Oh yeah, definitely. And I'm guessing that also works out, for example, with the VIP remixes that are tour exclusive. Because I'm
Yeah.
guessing that the vibe from just playing the release track compared to a stage track, like how do you feel the crowd reacts when you like playing a track that they've already listened countless time in the stereo and then suddenly change up completely the drop?
Yeah, that's always fun. Like that's going back to creating these moments in the set where like people are surprised or in awe of, like, and then trying to build these special moments that people might remember afterwards.
Awesome. And one last question so that I don't take much longer of your
You're good.
time. I want to know, since you're in tour so much and you come to all of these sets, how do other artists inspire you? Because, for example, you saw a little bit here of what we had here. We had Valentino, there was some local artists, and I'm sure that on every tour and every stage that you go, there's always some local artist
Yeah.
and some special guests. Does the music that they play inspire you in some way, or does it spark creativity listening to all of these different tracks that you might have not listened otherwise?
Sometimes there are some crazy tracks in there where I'm like, oh, what is that? I need to check that out. But most of the time, it's just, I feel like whoever I see playing and whatever genre it is, I feel like I'm learning something while I'm watching it in terms of like the crowd reaction and the style of how they're performing, like how long the build-ups are. For example, at a festival, learning that, oh, like the build-ups are so much longer than in a usual club show, but it works here because it's such a big crowd and you have this hysteria with everybody. Just like learning from seeing the crowd and hearing the music, I feel like I take away something from every show I see.
Awesome. So, do you have anything else you'd like to add to the video before we end it? Like, do you want to give a message to the Puerto Rican crowd that you visited here? Like, just what do you think about the?
Thank you all very much for coming. We're super sweaty.
We had fun.
Yeah, that was really sick.
And the crowd was awesome, and we love a good crowd that has, like, gets hyped for the set.
I'd love to be back. And
yeah. Hopefully we come back sooner than 8 years.
Yes. Yeah.
Well, there you have it. Hopefully it's not 8 years until you come back. Hopefully it's a lot sooner. And hopefully it's a really fun event like the one that we had here in Day of Colors. So I was Rafael. We had here at Val and Carmen at Black Lotus Audio. So thank you guys so much for watching this video. As always, like and subscribe. And I'll see you in the next one.
Bye!